All right, so we looked at our last Devo about what we were talking about from Ephesians chapter 6, verses 5 through 9. Today, I want to tag on to that about some other things that we find in 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 18 through 25. Household slaves, submit to your masters with all reverence, not only to the good and gentle ones, but also to the cruel. For it brings favor if, because of a consciousness of God, someone endures grief from suffering unjustly. For what credit is there if you do wrong and are beaten, you endure it? But when you do what is good and suffer, if you endure it, this brings favor with God. For you were called to do this because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example that you should follow in his steps. He did not commit sin, and no deceit was found in his mouth. When he was insulted, he did not insult in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten, but entrusted himself to the one who judges justly. He himself bore our sins in his body on a tree, so that having died to sin, we might live to righteousness. By his wounds you have been healed. For you were like sheep gone astray, but you have now returned to the shepherd and overseer of our souls. What I want you to hear there is that when injustice happens on you, it's not foreign to God. It doesn't excuse you from living the way that he's called you to live. In fact, what it does is it helps us know him better. One of my favorite verses of all time is from Philippians chapter 3, verse 10. It says, I want to know Christ and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of sharing in his sufferings, becoming like him in death so as somehow to attain to the resurrection from the dead. When we look at that, I would say, I don't want to join in the fellowship of his sufferings, but when I have, what it's done is it's helped me know him better. That's what 1 Peter is talking about. You'll know him better as you undergo some of the suffering that he did. Look what it says in James chapter 5, verses 1 through 6. Come now, you rich people, weep and wail over the miseries that are coming on you. Your wealth has rotted and your clothes are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver are corroded, and their corrosion will be a witness against you and will eat your flesh like fire. You have stored up treasure in the last days. Look, the pay that you withheld from the workers who mowed your fields cries out, and the outcry of the harvesters has reached the ears of the Lord of armies. You have lived luxuriously on the earth and have indulged yourselves. You have fattened your hearts in a day of slaughter. You have condemned. You have murdered the righteous who does not resist you. What this is laying out for us is this idea that if we're in a place of influence and affluence, we need to make sure that we're not using that selfishly. If we're in a place where we have faced injustice and we're never able to get ahead, it seems like, that we can identify with the Lord and that he is with us and that he understands us. Either way, what it does is it subjects all of our hearts, all of our intentions to the Lord and his obedience, us obeying him. And so wherever you are today, whatever's going on in your life, I want you to look at the things that you've been given. If it's good, are you using that to bless others? And if it's bad, are you using that to know him better and ultimately still bless others?